There is a bird in Africa capable of knocking a grown man down with a single strike. Its talons have enough force to break a human arm. It can spot prey from 6 kilometers away. It dives from the sky at 230 kilometers per hour, and it kills on impact. This is the martial eagle, the largest and most powerful eagle on the entire African continent. Now imagine a people who decide to hunt this bird without firearms, without modern traps, without any technology, only with handmade bows and arrows. These people exist. They are called the Hadzabe, and they have lived in Tanzania for more than 50,000 years. This is the reality of one of the most unequal confrontations between man and nature. The martial eagle is not just any bird. Its scientific name is Polymatus bellicosus. Science itself named it with the word for war. It is the supreme aerial predator of Africa. No other bird on the continent compares to it. Its body can reach 96 centimeters in length. That is almost a meter. Its open wings span 2 meters and 60 centimeters. That is like the width of a small car. And its weight reaches 6.5 kilograms. It may seem light, but when that mass converts into speed, the result is devastating. The martial eagle hunts from absurd heights. It climbs to over 5,000 meters in altitude. At that height, it becomes invisible to the naked eye. You can be on the ground and never know it is up there, watching, calculating, waiting for the exact moment. And here begins what makes this bird so feared. Its eyes are up to 8 times more powerful than a human's. It can identify the movement of a rabbit from 6 kilometers away. 6 kilometers. That is like spotting prey from the top of a building all the way across an entire city. When it chooses its target, there is no second chance. It tucks its wings, tilts its body, and dives. The speed of the dive can exceed 200 kilometers per hour. At that moment, it thrusts its talons forward. Each talon is the size of a lion's canine tooth. The impact is so violent that many prey die before they even understand what happened. One strike, a single strike, and it is over. But wait, there is something that makes all of this even more impressive. The martial eagle does not hunt only small animals. It attacks monkeys, young antelopes, monitor lizards nearly a meter long, venomous snakes, jackals, and attacks on lion and leopard cubs have been documented. More than 30 mammal species have been recorded as prey of this bird. 30 species. No other eagle on the planet has a menu so diverse and so dangerous. It is called the leopard of the air. And that title is no exaggeration. Now pay attention to this part. The martial eagle patrols immense territories. A single pair can control an area of up to 1,000 square kilometers. It spends 85% of its time perched, in silence, watching. When it decides to fly, it glides on thermal currents for hours without flapping its wings. Conserving energy, just waiting. It is the definition of lethal patience, and when it finds something worth the effort, it acts with surgical precision. First, it descends in a long diagonal, using gravity itself as a weapon. Then, when it is close enough, it straightens its body and fires its talons. The prey does not always see where the attack came from. Because the martial eagle is one of the few eagles that hunts from such extreme heights, most birds of prey attack from perches or low flights. Not this one. It comes from above, from nowhere, like a silent missile, and it is exactly this bird that the Hadzabe face. Now let us go to the other side of this equation. The Hadzabe live near Lake Eyasi in northern Tanzania. They are a people of hunter-gatherers, one of the last on the planet. Around 1,300 people remain, and of those, only 300 still live in the traditional way, without agriculture, without livestock, without food reserves. Each day starts from zero. Everything they need comes from the land and is sought that very same day. But this is only the beginning. What makes the Hadzabe unique is not just their way of life. It is the depth of time. They have inhabited this region for tens of thousands of years. Their language, Hadzabe, is a linguistic isolate. It has no relationship with any other language in the world. It has click sounds reminiscent of the Khoisan languages of southern Africa, but genetically, the Hadzabe have no connection to any other known people. They are a living enigma, a lineage that crossed millennia without mixing, without surrendering, without changing. Hadzabe men are trained to hunt from the moment they can walk. This is not a figure of speech. Boys of 2 or 3 years old already receive miniature bows. They practice on insects, on small lizards. Then they move on to birds around the camp. And so they keep evolving, little by little, with patience, for years, until aim becomes instinct, the bow becomes an extension of the body, and the arrow becomes thought in motion. And there is more. The Hadzabe craft 4 different types of arrowheads, each one for a specific purpose. Simple wooden tips serve for birds and small mammals. Tips with spiral cuts increase resistance to removal. Iron lance-shaped tips cause shock and bleeding in medium-sized animals, and barbed iron tips with poison are used for big game. The poison comes from a plant called Adenium obesum. It contains cardiac glycosides, substances that enter the bloodstream and disrupt the heart of the prey. It is natural chemistry, developed over generations through trial and observation. Hadzabe bows are also special, made from a wood species called Dombea kirkii. The string is made from supraspinous ligaments of antelopes, impala, kudu. When these ligaments dry, they are chewed to soften them, then braided into strong cords. The result is a bow with an average draw force of 311 newtons. That equals about 70% of the archer's body weight, a surprising amount of power for such a simple weapon. Scientific studies showed that Hadzabe arrows reach speeds of 45 meters per second, with an energy transfer efficiency of 70%, comparable to modern recurved bows. Now that you understand both forces, let us move to the confrontation. The martial eagle inhabits exactly the same region as the Hadzabe, the open savannas with scattered trees around Lake Ayasi. There, the bird patrols its immense territories, and there, the Hadzabe walk every day in search of food. The encounter between them is not accidental. It is inevitable. For the Hadzabe, the martial eagle represents something beyond simple hunting. It is a predator that competes directly with them. The bird attacks the same animals the Hadzabe hunt: dik-diks, vervet monkeys, young bush pigs, guinea fowl. When a martial eagle dominates a territory, the number of available prey for human hunters decreases. And in a way of life where every meal depends on what is found that day, that competition can mean hunger. But there is another reason. The Hadzabe use parts of raptors in their equipment. Vulture feathers are used in arrow making. Skin from the legs of birds of prey is used to cover and protect bows. The large, stiff feathers stabilize arrow flight, and the tough skin prevents cracks in the bow wood. The martial eagle, with its enormous feathers and thick skin, provides materials of the highest quality. Every part of the animal has a use. Nothing is wasted. And this is where it gets interesting. Hunting a martial eagle is not like hunting a guinea fowl or a hornbill. A guinea fowl stays on the ground, picks at seeds, makes noise, can be surprised on its nest during moonlit nights. The martial eagle is different. It is solitary, silent, suspicious. It avoids human presence. It patrols heights that make it invisible, and when it is on the ground or perched, it chooses tall trees with a wide view from every direction. Approaching it is a challenge that demands everything the Hadzabe have learned throughout their lives. Pay attention to this part. The method begins with observation. The Hadzabe are masters at reading the savannah as if it were an open book. They observe the behavior of other animals. Vervet monkeys, for example, have a specific alarm call for eagles, different from the cry they make for leopards, different from the cry for snakes. When the Hadzabe hear that particular call, they know exactly what is nearby. The eagle is there, somewhere above. They also watch the sky. Circling vultures can indicate a carcass abandoned by a predator. But a solitary silhouette gliding in wide, regular circles indicates something different. It indicates the patrol of the martial eagle. The shape of the wings is unmistakable, long, broad, with the tips slightly curved downward. And the way it glides, almost without flapping, is different from any other bird in the region. Hadzabe hunters learned to distinguish these silhouettes since childhood. They know exactly who is flying. But knowing where it is represents only the first step. The real challenge is making it come down. The martial eagle rarely stays within arrow range while soaring. It needs to land. And that is where Hadzabe strategy comes into play. They know the habits of the bird. They know it prefers tall, isolated trees to rest. They know that after a successful hunt, it looks for a perch to feed. And they know that certain areas near water sources attract more prey and consequently more eagles. What comes next changes everything. The ambush technique is the most important in the Hadzabe arsenal. It is not pursuit, it is waiting. The hunters choose a spot where they have already observed recent eagle activity. They position themselves before dawn, covered by bushes, motionless. Patience here is measured in hours, not minutes. The slightest movement can alert the bird. Remember that its eyes are 8 times more powerful than yours. It can detect the blink of an eye from hundreds of meters away. The Hadzabe use the savanna itself as camouflage. Their clothing, when they wear any, is made from animal skins. Colors that blend with the dry vegetation. Some hunters wear baboon fur around their heads and shoulders. This is not decoration, it is disguise. In the savanna environment where every shadow and every shape can mean danger or safety, looking like part of the landscape is the difference between eating and going hungry. Now comes the part that few people know. When the eagle finally lands, the Hadzabe hunter must calculate everything in silence. The ideal distance for the shot is between 15 and 30 meters. In that range, the arrow maintains sufficient speed and accuracy. Beyond 50 meters, control decreases significantly. And the martial eagle, even when perched, is always alert. It turns its head constantly, checking every angle. The window of opportunity is minimal, sometimes just seconds. The arrow used for this type of hunt is not the simple wooden tip, nor is it the poisoned arrow reserved for buffalo and large antelopes. It is the iron lance-shaped tip, designed to cause immediate impact, deep penetration, and rapid bleeding. Against a bird that weighs more than 6 kilograms and has powerful muscles, the arrow must hit the body with force and precision. A shot to the wing may not bring it down. A shot to the tail feathers allows escape. The ideal target is the chest, where the vital organs are concentrated and the body mass is greatest. Think about what that means. A barefoot man crouching behind a bush, holding a bow made of wood, an animal tendon string, aiming at a predator that can see a hare from 6 kilometers away. That can fly at over 140 kilometers per hour, that has talons capable of crushing a skull. If the shot fails, the eagle disappears in seconds and does not return to the same spot for days. If the shot hits but is not lethal, the bird may attack. Martial eagles have been recorded charging at animals much larger than a man. Monkeys, antelopes, lion cubs. A wounded and furious bird is a real danger. But wait, there is something nobody talks about. The Hadzabe possess a silent advantage. They know every tree in their territory. They know which ones are used as perches by raptors. They know what time of year the martial eagle is nesting. They know it lays only 1 egg every 2 years. They know the chick takes more than 90 days to make its first flight. And they know that during that period, the parents become more predictable, more attached to the nest, more vulnerable to patterns that can be studied. This knowledge does not come from books. It comes from generations of observation, fathers teaching sons, grandparents correcting grandchildren. Every detail of the eagle's behavior is passed down orally, in the Hadzabe language, around fires that burn all night under the Tanzanian sky. It is a living database, built over millennia, without a single written word. The moment of the shot carries a tension that is not easily described. The hunter controls his breathing, aligns the arrow with the target, pulls the string until he feels 300 newtons of pressure on his fingers, nearly the weight of his own body, and releases. The arrow travels at 45 meters per second. At that speed, the distance of 20 meters is covered in less than half a second, faster than the bird's reaction time. If the aim is true, the impact is precise. The iron tip penetrates between the feathers, reaches the muscle, and the bird falls, but it does not always work that way. The martial eagle has dense feathers on the upper body, dark brown, thick. They function as a layer of natural protection. A poorly positioned shot can be deflected, and if the arrow hits the bird but does not bring it down immediately, a dangerous situation begins. The eagle may try to fly, wounded, unpredictable. The hunter needs to act fast. Fire a second arrow while the bird is still within range, or track it by the trail of blood left on leaves and soil. Imagine the skill required for that. Tracking a wounded bird across the African savanna, following drops of blood on dusty ground, watching for broken branches, listening for the beating of wings in some distant bush. It is a hunt within a hunt, and it demands every gram of knowledge accumulated over an entire lifetime. Now that you understand how it works, let us move to something even more impressive. When the eagle is finally brought down, what happens next reveals much about who the Hadzabe are. Nothing is wasted. Absolutely nothing. The largest feathers are separated for arrows. Martial eagle feathers are ideal for their stiffness and size. They stabilize the flight of hunting arrows like no other feather can. The skin from the legs is removed with care. It will be used to wrap bows, protect the wood from cracking, increase the durability of the hunter's primary weapon. The meat is shared with the entire camp. This is an inviolable rule of the Hadzabe. Everything that is hunted belongs to the group. It does not matter who fired the arrow. It does not matter who tracked the prey. The food belongs to everyone. Women, children, elders. Everyone eats. And the hunter who brought down the animal keeps the skin as recognition. On the oldest and most decorated Hadzabe bows, you can see strips of skin wrapped around the wood. Each strip tells of a hunt, a conquest, a day when skill defeated danger. But there is a weight to this hunt that goes beyond survival. The martial eagle is threatened with extinction. The International Union for Conservation of Nature classified the species as endangered since 2020. The total population is estimated at 30,000 individuals, and it is declining. Poisoning by ranchers, electrocution on power lines, habitat loss, collision with high-voltage cables, and direct hunting. Each year, more martial eagles disappear from African skies, and unlike many birds, their reproduction is slow, a single egg every 2 years, and the chick takes up to 3 years to become independent. This places the Hadzabe in a complex position. They are not ranchers who poison carcasses. They are not industrial-scale farming operations. They are a people of 1,300 living, as their ancestors did, hunting what they need for the next day, without excess, without accumulation, without waste. Their impact on the martial eagle population is insignificant compared to modern threats, but the situation raises a question that has no easy answer. How to preserve a way of life that is 50,000 years old when the surrounding world changes faster than any generation can keep up with? The truth is more complex. The Hadzabe do not hunt martial eagles frequently. This is a rare hunt, motivated by specific need, materials for bows and arrows, competition for prey, or simply by an unexpected encounter in the field. Most Hadzabe hunts involve smaller birds, guinea fowl, francolins, hornbills, birds that stay on the ground. that can be surprised, that do not demand the absurd risk of facing a winged predator with lethal talons. The martial eagle hunt is the exception. It is the extreme, the ultimate test of a Hadzabe hunter's skill. And that is why it carries so much meaning. A young hunter who manages to bring down a martial eagle demonstrates something beyond marksmanship. He demonstrates patience, courage, knowledge of the environment, the ability to read nature's signals, and complete mastery over his own emotions in a moment of absolute tension. It is the Hadzabe equivalent of climbing the highest mountain or crossing the most dangerous river. Proof that a lifetime of learning has been transformed into mastery. Now look at the bigger picture. On one side, the largest eagle in Africa, a predator with superhuman vision, talons that crush bones, diving speed that surpasses most cars on a highway. An animal at the absolute top of the aerial food chain. On the other side, a barefoot human being with a wooden bow and an iron-tipped arrow, without any technological advantage that modern civilization offers. And yet, for 50,000 years, that human being survived, hunted, fed his family, and passed the knowledge on to the next generation. That explains a lot, but it does not explain the most important thing: why the Hadzabe continue. The world offered alternatives. Governments tried to settle them. Missionaries tried to convert them. Modernity tried to seduce them, and repeatedly the Hadzabe chose the savannah, chose the bow, chose the dawn with the uncertainty of not knowing if there would be food. It is a choice that defies everything the modern world considers logical, and perhaps that is exactly why it matters so much. There is something profoundly human in this confrontation between the hunter and the eagle. Both are predators. Both depend on the same land. Both use patience as their primary weapon. The eagle waits for hours up high before striking. The Hadzabe waits for hours on the ground before shooting. The eagle knows every air current in its territory. The Hadzabe knows every tree, every trail, every sound. The eagle acts with surgical precision. The Hadzabe does too. They are mirrors of each other, separated by wings and by gravity. The Hadzabe are also watchers of vultures. When they see these birds circling in the sky, they run to the spot. They know there is fresh meat there, abandoned by lions or leopards, and they contest the carcass with other predators, including eagles. This ability to read the sky as a map of opportunities is exclusive to the Hadzabe. No other hunter-gatherer people developed such an intricate relationship with birds of prey. They do not only hunt birds, they learn from them. They observe their patterns. They use their roots as indicators, and when necessary, they face the greatest of them all. In a world that races toward the artificial, the Hadzabe remain rooted in the natural. Their arrows are still stabilized with feathers from birds they themselves hunted. Their strings are still made from tendons they themselves extracted. Their poison still comes from plants they themselves processed. And their knowledge of the martial eagle is not in any book. It lives in thousands of nights around the fire, in thousands of mornings on the savannah, in thousands of arrows fired over thousands of years. The sun sets over Lake Eyasi once more. The same golden colors touch the water as they did 50,000 years ago. Somewhere above, a martial eagle glides in silence, invisible against the darkening sky. Somewhere below, a Hadzabe hunter walks back to camp, with his bow over his shoulder and his eyes still fixed on the horizon. Tomorrow it all begins again. The same savannah, the same bow, the same eagle. Two forces that have existed since before any civilization, and they remain here, steady, unshakable. As if time could not touch them, perhaps it cannot.